Hello and welcome back to Good Game Nation, where we bring you all things TCG. My name is Preston, and today I'm bringing you the news. And oh boy, is it a juicy one. There is absolutely so much to talk about, and so little time. So let's jump straight into this teaser video that we got that is absolutely bonkers. I'm going to skip towards the middle when the actual stuff starts, because everything up to this point is... it's tension. We're building tension. If you want to get the tension in your video, I'll link it in the description. You can watch it. I believe we've seen all of these cards here. Let me double check with that. Yep, totally seen those cards. Let's jump back into it. These cards we have seen, but I haven't reviewed. We'll go over them at some point. The real important thing is we get some really cool stuff at the end. We got Clover, which is a searcher for Robin, but for triggers for Robin. Blockers. Now these are the treasure rares. I'm going to see if we will stop here. Perfect. Okay, so Dragon, Rocinante, Boa, Zoro, Lucci, and Nami, with the highly detailed pattern style that we've gotten before. And I believe there's links to these, and we'll be able to see them in more detail later on. But we'll just keep going. We got some Buggy cards. I believe that's the Buggy Searcher for Cross Guild. I think we've seen these. I think these are just alt arts for stuff we've already seen before. Uta in the bottom left is going to be the Red Hair Searcher. The 2K counter in the bottom right hand corner. I believe these are just alt arts for cards we've already seen. We got Blackbeard. And I don't think I've reviewed the Blackbeard Pirates yet. I do have information on the Vit, I believe. It's a negate effect. And then KO if it's less than a certain cost, which is pretty cool. We got a lot of that coming out of Blackbeard right now. Next up is Luffy. Let's see, is there anything new here? Chopper. Chopper, at the end of your turn, you can restand this character if you do don stuff like he always does, like the Black Purple Leader wants. Then gains blocker for the next turn. I don't know what that Frankie does. I don't know if I've seen it. I can't remember if I've seen it. But that Luffy on the left-hand side is an alt art. I don't think we've seen the original yet. I do have the effect. We'll get to it later on in this video. But this is pretty cool. We got wanted cards back, and they're, I think, so much better than they were the first time. Mostly because I don't know. They feel better just in photos. And these are a Buggy that we haven't seen before. We'll get to it. The Shanks that we've seen earlier in this set. Blackbeard that we've seen earlier this set, and Gear 5 from OP09 Luffy that we already had. And I'm just gonna let this play out because the reveal is great. Alt arts for everybody. So this is the 9 cost that we already saw, and the 10 cost from the wanted cards. Boom. Okay, 4 manga rares in this set. That is going to just be so interesting, especially because I think Blackbeard is playable. We'll determine if Luffy is playable in a short amount of time, and Shanks probably going to be played, and then Buggy will have to determine when we read his effect shortly. But 4 manga rares is just chef's kiss. We love to see it. Just going to bring the value of the cases and boxes way up, but they'll be determined on playability and all of that. So let's quickly jump around real quick. Okay, very exciting video, very cool to see all of that, just one thing after another. But let's jump into the exciting stuff here. So the official website on the Japanese website has updated, and they have a special section for this set. As they usually do. They did it with OP09. I think they've done it every set since, but it really shows some of it, and it's just better. It just looks so cool. So they talk about our alt art leaders. They're talking about the manga rares in a little bit easier to see stuff. So we're going to read those effects shortly. Oh, did you see that? This is a thing that is in the other video that I don't feel like watching, but we're just going to show you. We're getting Gol D Rodger in this next set. And as you can see, we get a beautiful secret rare art. We're getting an alt art here. And just follow along with me at the top. You want my treasure, you can have it. Look for it. I left everything in this world there. That's a 5th manga rare, people. This is ridiculous. That is a gold background manga rare Gol D Rodger card, and it is gorgeous looking. We keep scrolling. They do this thing because it's Japanese. It would read really nicely in Japanese. It says, "The world is entering the great age of pirates." And then it goes on to show the rest of the cards, as well as these. I don't think they're clickable yet. And then also the wanted posters, which is the 10 cost for each emperor. Yeah, so let's jump back a little bit, and we will go through all of these effects really quickly. We are going to start with the first one we don't have here, which is Buggy. And we're going to read Buggy's effect off and do the normal thing I usually do, which is talk about it and determine if I think it's anywhere near good or playable. Buggy, blue character, 10 cost, 12k power. Cross guild for emperors, on play, return up to one of your opponent's characters to the bottom of the deck. Then, if you do not control 5 characters with a cost of 5 or more, return this character to the bottom of the deck. That's bad, I think. The huge condition of having 5 cost characters is kinda steep. I know that Buggy cheats them out, but he doesn't cheat them out for like that much. Like, let's go read his effect real quick. Okay, I had to go into the Discord. I always link the Discord in the description down below just in case you're not part of that community. Go join it. They have all of the card effects that I read every week. So I scrolled back up to like about a month ago when Buggy was revealed. His effect as a leader is activate main. You may rest 5 Dawn and discard 1 card from your hand. Play 1 character with cross guild type from your hand. So this 10 cost Buggy relies on you having done that with characters that are not only playable off of his effect, contain a cost of 5 or higher, which you're going to be aiming for 6 or higher because you have to rest 5 Dawn to use it, and discard a card. It relies on you doing this for 2 or 3 turns before that, and those cards being sticky enough on board to still be on your side of the field, leaving 4. Basically, you have to pay 1 with Buggy and then pay another 5 cost with your remaining 5 Dawn for 2 whole turns. And they have to be sticky enough to be on board so that on your that's already too much, because if you think about it, you have to have 10 Dawn for those 2 previous turns to then play this on your 3rd 10 Dawn turn, and I don't know if you're going to have a game to play at that point. I don't know why any other deck hasn't beaten you by that point, or at least removed 1 of your 5 cost cards. And I don't think a 10 cost send a character to the bottom of your opponent's deck is worth 10 Dawn, because we've seen it in blue for much cheaper. So I'm not a big fan of the Buggy card. I'm so happy that he got a manga rare, but I just don't see this doing much in the future. I think it's too costly and too hard to get. We're gonna move on to our boy Luffy here. Let's find his effect. Okay. Monkey D. Luffy, purple character, 9 cost, 10,000 power, Straw Hat Crew. On play, you may return 1 or more Dawn cards from play to your Dawn deck. Draw 1 card, then this character gains Rush for the turn. That's okay. I think he is He plays into his leader ability, so you're actually getting some back. I think that ends up meaning you have 2 active Dawn after this, and you still have 10 Dawn total. Drawing a card is always nice. Gaining Rush is nice. I think there could be a bigger impact at this cost value. Thinking about even the starter deck 10 cost Luffy that like screws up blockers is a pretty decent version of Luffy at a high cost. Drawing a card and gaining Rush is interesting. Is it worth a 9? I mean, when you compare it to other in-game Luffy cards, Gear 5 removes all your Dawn, and you get to attack with it without your opponent getting a response. So it's basically a weird version of Rush. It's just very costly. It's hard. It's hard to say that a 9 cost Rush in purple black is worth it. And I'm not sure if I'm a fan. It's playable, and it's nice. Drawing a card is always a good thing. I can't complain about drawing a card. I'm just not sure if in the long run that is the most optimal play for purple. But let's talk about Gol D Rodger, because I think he changes the game a little bit. Gol D Rodger, red character, 10 cost, 13k power, Pirate King, Rodger Pirates. Rush. When your opponent activates blocker, if you or your opponent have 0 life, you win the game. The power of the card doesn't really matter, because if they block, you win. And if they don't block and they have to defend against it, 13 is quite steep of a power level. I'm trying to think of all of the cards. I think it's the strongest card that we have. I think 13 is the biggest on card power. I quickly jumped over to card dev, so I felt like I was secure about saying that. Yes, 12 was the previous highest power card, held by a lot of cards, lots of Kaidos, Big Moms, the Luffy. This is the strongest card in the game so far, and it's a game ender. It's really interesting. I mean, if you're at 0 life and your opponent is not, and they block, and if that is in fact how the card is going to read, that's pretty crazy, because that means on your 10 Dawn turn, you're at 0 life, and all you have to do is attack and then forget that this effect ends the game. And if not, you have an attacker at 13 that is going to continue to attack, and if they have to continue to remember not to block this card. Pretty interesting, and it's going to come in 3 rarities, so it's going to be the secret rare standard art is always so nice on these secret rares. Then we get a very nice parallel that kind of matches what happened with Shanks in set 1, and then we get a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous gold-backed manga rare card. Crazy. And I think that's it for all the huge announcements. I'm going to run through as quickly as possible the cards that were revealed during the week, which I believe are all event cards, so that should go pretty quickly. Let's start here with the Teach event card, which is named This Is My Age, 1 cost black event, Blackbeard Pirates, main. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Blackbeard Pirate type card other than This Is My Age and put it into your hand. Then put the rest of the cards into your trash. Trigger, activate this card's main ability. So it is the event searcher for Blackbeard Pirates. It only goes 3 deep, which I'm trying to remember what other cards do, if they're 5 deep or not. But a 3 deep event, most of these events only get played if the deck is really needs more draw power. So I can't say that this is an automatic play, but it is, again, something that we get for every archetype, so we'll have to see how it plays out. If the deck needs more draw power because you don't have on play to get a lot of those effects that you would normally get, this deck would definitely play it. So it just depends on how we end up building that deck. Moving on to our next card. Never underestimate the power of miracles. 1 cost yellow event, Revolutionary Army. Counter. Give up to one of your leaders or characters plus 2,000 power during this battle. Trigger, play up to one Revolutionary Army type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. Trigger's pretty interesting. Other than that, it's a standard like counter, just normal looking counter for the yellow type of Revolutionary Army, which is pretty interesting to still be getting those, even though our leader has nothing really to do with it, at least in name or type. But playing one from your hand with a cost of 4 or less on trigger is pretty interesting. You could play out a blocker or something that's going to set you up for the next turn, which is really interesting if you do hit it as trigger. And we know Clover is searching. It's weird. Yellow is weird, and I think this could work if we have enough of support to get cards into life that you could then trigger and all that stuff with the Revolutionary Army type and stuff like that. Moving on to the next event. Murder at the Steam Bath, 2-cost blue event. Buggy Pirates, counter. Give up to one of your leader or characters plus 3,000 power for this battle. Then trash up to 2 cards from your hand. Then trash the same number of cards from the top of your deck. That is very interesting. I don't think it gets played anywhere. My first thought on any card that says anything about the top of your deck is to think about Nami. The problem is you have to discard 2 cards from your hand, then discard as many cards as you want, right? Then trash 2 cards from your hand, then trash. No, it's trash 2 cards, then trash 2 cards from the top of your deck. I don't think a Nami player really wants to get rid of 2 cards from their hand that could be useful, unless you have a couple dead events. That might be nice. The trigger is draw a card, which is something that we like to see, but I just don't know. It's interesting. It possibly gets played in Nami just because Nami ends up playing a lot of random crap, or at least it has in the past. Just cards that aren't extremely useful. I think they've filtered most of them out because of the Kuja Pirates. But it's a very interesting card. I don't know why you would play it in Buggy. It has a very high cost for just 3,000 power. Me being 2 cards out of your hand in a Buggy deck, that doesn't seem very necessary or advisable for most decks. Moving on to our next card. Gum Gum Lightning, 2-cost purple event for Emperor Straw Hat Crew. Main, Dawn -2, K up to one of your opponent's power 6,000 or lower characters. Trigger, set up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. Let's see here. So it is an activate main with a Dawn -2, so it activates your leader effect, I believe. And it's KOing a 6,000 power or lower character. That's pretty nice for 2 Dawn. I think that fits pretty nicely into a lot of decks. And if you haven't used your leader ability, which this is a thing that happens with purple decks every set, is they have incredible effects, they have great minuses, and they have a leader that looks like they can take advantage of those minuses. And then you put it all together and you're like, every effect is a minus and I only get this effect once per turn. And I think that's where purple falls off, is every single one of your cards is a -2 or of some sort a minus to activate its effect, but you don't have as much recovery as you have minuses. So at the end of the day, you have to balance your minuses and your gains. And if your gains are less than your minuses, you're going backwards and you're not actually ramping. It has a nice trigger. I know that other decks are going to enjoy this set up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as active trigger. I'm worried that we're getting a lot of really good purple cards that aren't usable because they're all Dawn -2s. Speaking of which, we have our last event of the day. Gum Gum Jump Rope, 2-cost purple event for Emperor Straw Hat Crew. Activate main. Dawn -2, rest up to one of your opponent's cost 5 or lower characters, then draw a card. Trigger, set up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. So this is kind of an interesting mirror from the last one. One was power, one was cost, one KOs, one just rest. This one draws a card, which is extremely nice, and it falls back into that same concept of, do we have too many minuses in this deck? And do the purple cards that came out for Straw Hat Crew, or even black Straw Hat Crew cards, make up for the rest of the deck? Do we have a good enough balance on the really, really good Dawn minus cards to play other cards and have a forward momentum towards the 10 Dawn turn? And I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is trying to find that balance with this leader. And yeah, I think it is interesting, but just tough to pull off with all of the cards that they're releasing. I think they're very interesting, but oh man, does it make me worry about the ability for this deck to have forward momentum. With that being said, that was a action-packed episode right up at the top. If you're still here, thank you all for watching. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to get more One Piece TCG content, hit that subscribe. And until next time, peace.